Level 5. The assistant professor. You got the job. This is not a small sentence. Out of 300 applicants for a single tenure-track position, you were the one they chose. You flew out for 3 interviews in 6 months. You gave job talks to skeptical audiences. You had dinners with department chairs who were evaluating whether you could be their colleague for the next 30 years. The final offer came with a startup package of $800,000 to build your laboratory. You are 34 years old. You are running your own lab. You're also about to discover that nothing in your training prepared you for what comes next. You hire your first graduate student. You hire a technician. You buy equipment. You set up the room you've been given on the 3rd floor of the science building. The room has nothing in it when you arrive. You build a scientific enterprise from bare walls. You also teach. You have never taught before in your life. You are now responsible for a class of 120 undergraduates who will evaluate you at the end of the semester on a 5-point scale. Your tenure committee will read those evaluations.
You prepare lectures until 2 in the morning because you want to do it right.
You do it wrong anyway. You learn over time. You also write grants. This is the central, terrifying fact of your new life. Your salary is paid by the university. Your research is paid by grants you write to federal agencies. The success rate for these grants is around 12%. Most scientists who apply do not get funded. Without funding, your lab dies. Without your lab, you will not get tenure. Without tenure, you will not keep your job. You write grants constantly. You write through dinner, you write on weekends, you write on vacation. You write while your children are small and your spouse is lonely. And you tell yourself this phase will end. It doesn't end. It just changes shape. Your first big grant gets rejected after 8 months of work. The reviewer comments are brutal. One reviewer calls your central hypothesis unconvincing. Another says your preliminary data is insufficient. You read the comments in your office with the door closed. You rewrite the proposal. You resubmit. You wait another 8 months. You get it funded on the 2nd try. You learn that rejection in science is not personal. It only feels personal every single time.
Level 6. The Tenured Associate Professor. 6 years of terror have ended. The tenure committee voted. You got it. Tenure means the university cannot fire you except for serious misconduct. It is the closest thing to job security that exists in the modern economy. You are 40 years old. You have earned something that almost nobody gets. You celebrate with your spouse at a restaurant you couldn't normally afford. You are asleep by 10 because you are exhausted. The next morning, you discover that tenure has not actually solved your problems. It has just changed them. You still need grants. Without grants, your graduate students have nothing to eat, and your lab produces no papers. Without papers, you cannot get more grants. Without grants, you cannot get promoted to full professor, which is the next rung on the ladder. That rung determines your salary for the rest of your career. The treadmill does not stop. It only resets. You are also serving on committees now. So many committees. The curriculum committee, the faculty senate, the departmental search committee looking for new hires, the institutional review board that evaluates animal protocols. Each committee meets once a month. Each meeting consumes 3 hours. You do arithmetic in your head and realize you spend 15 hours a week in meetings and another 10 preparing. You are teaching less now than when you were an assistant professor. Your research productivity should be increasing. It is not. You have more students in your lab, which means more mentoring, which means more time watching experiments fail. You also have more money coming in, which means more paperwork. You did not become a scientist to fill out expense reports. You fill them out anyway, because if you don't, nothing gets ordered. And if nothing gets ordered, the lab stops.
You are a small business owner now. You just happen to also be a scientist. Nobody mentioned this during graduate school.
Your marriage has been under strain for 3 years. You and your spouse are finally honest with each other on a Tuesday night in April. They tell you that you are never present. You are physically home, but mentally in the lab. You argue for 2 hours. You go to couples therapy. The therapist says things that are true and uncomfortable. You try to do better. You mostly fail. Your spouse stays anyway because they love you. You don't know why. You don't deserve it. You tell yourself you will be a better partner when the next grant comes through. You know this is a lie while you were telling it. Your oldest child is 8 now. He drew a picture of your family for a school project. You were not in it. You asked him about it gently. He said he didn't know what you looked like in the daytime. You sat in your car for 20 minutes afterward. You did not cry. You thought about crying. You drove back to the lab instead.
Level 7. The full professor. You got promoted. Your salary jumped $40,000. You are 48 years old. You have been doing this for 26 years if you count your undergraduate research. You have trained 15 graduate students who now have their own careers. 3 of them are faculty at other universities. 2 of them are in industry, making 3 times your salary. The rest are in government labs or teaching colleges, or they left science entirely to do something else. You are proud of all of them, even the ones who left, especially the ones who left. You understand why they left. Your lab has a reputation. Now graduate students apply to your program specifically to work with you. You give talks at international conferences. You sit on advisory boards for journals. You review grants for federal agencies. Your opinion matters in your field in a way that would have seemed impossible when you were a postdoc. You are an expert. You have spent 25 years becoming an expert in a slice of biology so narrow that perhaps 200 people fully understand it. You also supervise other scientists now. You have 2 senior postdocs running their own projects under your name. You barely see them. You trust them to do good work and come to you when they need help. Your day is meetings and grant writing and occasional travel. You try to squeeze in an hour to read a paper that caught your eye on a preprint server. You have not run an experiment with your own hands in 4 years. You miss it more than you expected to. You remember being 22 years old in a lab at midnight watching a gel develop. That feeling has not returned in 2 decades. You are not sure it ever will. A competing lab in Germany scoops you on a major finding. They publish in Science. You were 3 months from submitting the same result. You congratulate them publicly, because that is what professionals do. You go home and pour yourself a drink and stare at the wall. Your graduate student, who did most of the work, cries in your office the next day. You tell her the truth. Sometimes you lose the race. The science still gets done. That is what matters in the long run. She nods. She doesn't believe you. You don't fully believe yourself either. Level 8. The department chair. They asked you to do it. Nobody wants to be department chair. It is the worst job in academic science. You took it because someone had to, and because the dean told you it was your turn. You get a small stipend and a 3-year term that will probably extend to 6. You are now responsible for 40 faculty members, 200 graduate students, 800 undergraduates, and a budget of $12 million. You have no real training in any of this. You are a scientist who is now an administrator. You spend your days on problems that have nothing to do with science. A professor is accused of misconduct by a graduate student. You have to investigate. You interview the student, you interview the professor, you read through lab notebooks, you consult with the university's general counsel. You reach a conclusion that will make someone furious, regardless of what you decide. You make the decision anyway. The professor retains their position, but loses access to the lab for a year. The student transfers to a different advisor. You do not sleep well for weeks.
A different professor is going through a divorce and cannot focus on their research. Their grants are in jeopardy.
Their graduate students are suffering. You find them a reduced teaching load. You check in on them weekly. You become a therapist without a license. Your own research is now secondary. Your lab runs on autopilot. Your senior postdoc handles most of the day-to-day supervision. Your name goes on papers, but you did not contribute to them in any meaningful way. You feel guilty about this. You also feel trapped. The department needs you. The department always needs someone. The budget is cut by 8% in your second year. The university is losing money on undergraduate tuition because enrollment is down. You have to tell 3 faculty members that they will lose their technicians. 2 of them understand. 1 of them screams at you in your office for 20 minutes. You let him scream. You were him once. You would have screamed too. After 3 years, you step down, and the next person takes over. You try to remember what it felt like to be a scientist. It takes you about a year.
Level 9. The Institute Director. You are 58 years old. You have been approached about running a major research institute affiliated with the university. 1,000 scientists, a budget of $400 million, a board of trustees that includes 2 Nobel laureates, 3 billionaires, and a former head of the NIH. You will be the public face of an organization that shapes the direction of an entire scientific field. You say yes. You move to a new city for the 4th time in your career. Your spouse is tired. You are tired. You take the job anyway because the work matters. You have spent your entire life preparing for exactly this. Your days are unrecognizable from your days as a postdoc. You are in meetings from 7 in the morning until 9 at night. You meet with congressional staffers about science funding. You meet with pharmaceutical executives about licensing agreements. You meet with donors who want to fund specific research programs in exchange for having buildings named after them. You navigate these conversations with a diplomat's careful language. You learned that language over 30 years in academia. You did not know you were learning it at the time. You also make strategic decisions about the direction of the institute. You decide to expand a particular research area because you believe it will be important in 20 years. You decide to close a different research area because it has not produced results in a decade. The money could be better spent elsewhere. Closing a program means ending people's careers. You do it anyway because it is the right call. You tell yourself this repeatedly. You still lose sleep over it. You also continue to publish. Though your name appears last on most papers now, you haven't written any of them personally. Your lab exists in name only. You are a scientist who no longer does science. You are something else now, something more powerful and less satisfying. A scandal breaks at another major institute across the country. A high-profile researcher is caught fabricating data across 2 decades of publications. The news cycle spins for months. Congress holds hearings. Funding agencies tighten oversight across every lab in the country. You are interviewed by 3 national publications as a voice of the scientific community. You speak carefully. You defend the integrity of research while acknowledging the system's failures. You age visibly during these interviews. Your staff tells you later that you looked tired on television. You know you looked tired. You were tired. You are always tired now. Being the institution means never being allowed to be the scientist. Level 10. The Legend. You are 72 years old. You retired 2 years ago. You have an emeritus title at the Institute. Your name is on a building. Your name is on an award given annually to young researchers doing promising work. 3 of your former students have won Nobel Prizes in fields you helped launch. You sit in your home office, surrounded by books, thinking about a career that feels both impossibly long and impossibly short. You still go to conferences where your presence alone validates entire research programs. Young scientists line up to introduce themselves after your talks. They are nervous. You were that nervous once, and you try to remember what it felt like. The memory comes back slowly. You remember the Western blot from graduate school, the photograph of which still sits framed on your desk. You remember your first graduate student, who is now a department chair at Stanford. You remember the postdoc who broke your heart by leaving science to start a company. She then made more impact in 5 years than most academics make in 40. You remember your advisor, who was terrifying and brilliant and wrong about almost everything, except the things she was right about. She has been dead for 6 years now, and you miss her anyway.
Your field has changed beyond recognition. The techniques you spent your career developing have been automated. Undergraduates now do in an afternoon what took you a decade, and you are proud and slightly bewildered. Progress erases the specifics of your contributions while preserving the general shape of what you built. That is the deal scientists make, and you made peace with it a long time ago. Your health is starting to falter. Your hands shake when you try to pipette. You pipetted last year to show a graduate student a technique and realized you could not hold the instrument steady. You handed it back to her and pretended it was a teaching moment. You walked home that day thinking about endings. You write a memoir that only scientists will read. You serve on advisory boards for foundations that give away more money in a year than you made in your entire career. You mentor young faculty who still call you for advice. You tell them the things nobody told you.
The grant will hurt. The rejection will hurt. The scooping will hurt. You will do it anyway. You have grandchildren now, 2 of them. One of them is 7 years old. She is lying on her back in the grass, staring at clouds, asking questions that have no easy answers. He recognized that look. Somewhere in a lab right now, a 22-year-old is staring at a gel that refuses to show the band she needs. She is tired. She is considering quitting, but she will not quit. She will keep going because she cannot imagine doing anything else. She will make a small discovery that will change a piece of the world in a way she cannot yet see. You were her once. Someone before you was you. The cycle continues.